Summer has now definitely passed and we've slipped into the familiar pattern of windy, wet weather. Auckland is one of New Zealand's wettest major centres, especially outside of summer. This is due to its unique geography and climate. Sitting on a narrow strip of land between the Tasman Sea and the Pacific Ocean, it's constantly exposed to warm and wet air coming from both sides. With all this wet and windy weather, you don't feel like you're missing out too much when the boat needs repairing. Thanks so much for all the helpful comments and suggestions around workarounds for the broken swivel while I figure out a long-term solution. After the last episode, we came up with what I like to call the Furler, a Frankenstein version of the Furler swivel. After putting our thinking caps on as to what someone might do if this happened when they were miles away from anything, we've made a part that should be strong enough to hold the sail while in use. And if it fails, I'm no worse off than I was before, so it's worth a try. First of all, I attached a stainless steel hose clamp to the base of the halyard swivel, which is where the original fitting had broken off of. Then, to prevent the clamp from sliding off of the remaining section of the swivel, I drilled a 6mm hole on each side of the clamp. I then drilled two 5mm holes into the plastic of the halyard swivel itself and tapped them with an M6 thread to accept two M6 machine screws. These screws will hopefully help secure everything into place to handle the weight and load of the head sail, which will be below. And here's the finished product. For added security, I applied Loctite to all of the fittings. Finally, we hoisted the Furler swivel back up the foil and hoped for the best. We reattached the head sail and tested the furling system in the marina, taking advantage of the calm conditions. For anyone who isn't familiar with a Furler system on a sailboat, it's a device that lets you easily roll the front sail in and out so you can adjust or stow it without leaving the cockpit. The UV strip on my head sail also needs some attention, so we bring it home, use a sewing machine, some specialist needles and UV resistant extra strength thread to get it sorted. Here you can see how a UV strip helps to protect the sail when it's furled up and not in use. With the weekend shaping up to be a break from the miserable weather, we decide to take the boat out. Saturday looks windier than I'd usually choose for a sail, especially since my confidence is still building, and also I'm not sure if our Furler will hold up, but Jason's keen to get out and give it a go. It always feels like we're bringing too much, but watching others at the marina, it's clear we're all doing several trips back and forth to the car. After a choppy start coming out of the marina entrance, we head straight towards Motutapu Island. With the forecast wind stronger than I'm used to, we've reefed the mainsail to its first reef and haven't unfurled the full head sail yet, also easing in the Furler swivel into its new job. I feel like I'm enjoying the stronger winds and feeling more in control with the sails reefed. My confidence is growing and I'm starting to understand how to depower the boat rather than being anxious when it's windier than I'm used to. Gannets are diving into the ocean like torpedoes, hunting for fish. We've never seen a bust up with gannets before while out on the water. It's usually smaller birds, so there must be something big down there. Despite the forecast predicting around 10 knots under what we were actually receiving, we were hit with gusts of up to 33 knots, making it one of the windiest outings that I've taken the boat in so far. After sailing up the Rakino Channel and as usual something breaking, this time my tiller extension, we decided to take refuge at Motutapu Island along with many other sailors and boaties with the same idea. Waikalabubu Bay, located on the northeast coast of Motutapu Island, is about 7 nautical miles from Auckland City. Motutapu Island itself is a largely uninhabited, lush island known for its rich history, including Maori and early European settlement, and its stunning natural beauty. Although the southerly wind was funneling off of the land, it was still more sheltered than attempting to cross the Motutapu Channel where my furler had broken last time. We anchored, made sure it set properly and waited out the windy weather, all while enjoying the beautiful scenery and being outdoors. Jason spent some time figuring out why the tiller extension had snapped off, and luckily it was an easy fix. However, the mechanism doesn't seem very fit for purpose, so we'll likely need to make some improvements if we plan on keeping using it. We set up our new double bed base, which we only just recently made, and it's the first time we've used it. It takes only a few minutes to assemble and it looks really cosy. With the sun setting earlier at around 5:30 now and temperatures much cooler than just a few weeks ago, we still love to be able to sit outside in the sun and the fresh air. And of course, my new giant hot water bottle keeps us cosy. We're so lucky to have the Hauraki Gulf so accessible, with the marina providing direct access right into the heart of it. As the winds died down and the sun began to set, a pod of dolphins swam into the bay feeding. I was surprised by how large they were, and a fellow sailor mentioned that orcas sometimes visited too, which would have been incredible to see. We enjoyed some reheated leftovers from the night before, making life easier, and continued to watch the dolphins swim around the surrounding boats. We had some popcorn, enjoyed a movie night, and then headed off to bed. Mornings are my favourite time on the boat. It always seems so calm, with a special light that makes everything feel peaceful. You can hear the birds and not much else, and you dive straight into a new day in the fresh air. Feeling over the moon that our Furler fix held up for the sail over here, and with much lighter winds predicted for our sail back home, we made a plan on how to spend the morning before heading back. But of course, it's not long until you notice a few other jobs that need to be done. It would also be handy to get a fresh water tank installed. Jason inflates the tender a lot faster than I can, and soon we're heading over to the beach. Within Waikalabubu Bay is Motutapu Beach, where we noticed the sign had fallen over, likely from recent wild weather. Neither Jason or I have been on the land here, so we clamber up the hillside, confident that there will be some beautiful views, and after sitting around all day yesterday, it feels great to stretch our legs. Motutapu Island is one of Auckland's larger and more significant pieces of farmland. Historically, it was used for farming, with sheep grazing being a major activity for much of its past. The island is around 12 square kilometres inside and sits inside the Hauraki Gulf near Rangitoto Island. After a lovely stroll, we headed back to the boat. The previous night, another sailor had stopped by and mentioned that there's a Lake Naroto near Rotorua, which was cool to hear, as my boat's name Naroto translates to Queen of the Lake. We sailed home on another bluebird day, which was such a treat after having a long stretch of rain, wind and grey skies. Jason spent some time figuring out the second reef in the mainsail, as we're both still getting the hang of reefing. With Rangitoto now in the background, we made good time heading back into the channel. This channel can get quite busy with marine traffic, ferries to Half Moon Bay, Waiheke and Makino, as well as cruise ships and cargo vessels. However, this was the first time we had ever spotted a large science vessel. Back into the marina we go, sheltered and calm, almost like a mill pond. We pass under the pedestrian bridge, which you need to radio in advance to pass through, and then it's on to the dreaded task of reversing into the berth. I shift into neutral and coast into the fairway. I feather between reverse, where the prop drag will pull me to the port, and then forward, pushing the bow to the starboard side until I'm lined up between the berth piles. We use the berth lines to gently pull ourselves back in, adding a little reverse when needed. Once the stern is in position, I quickly move to the front of the boat to attach the bow lines, which are hanging on nails on the piles, and secure them to the cleats at the bow. Meanwhile, Jason continues to guide the boat in, and I finish by attaching the stern lines. A quick high five seals the deal, and I feel so relieved that I managed to berth the boat without feeling too scared or messing up. Join us next time for more boat work, marina upgrades, and learning to sail.